Hey, how's it going? Okay, it's time to cover adjectives. Now, as you know, adjectives are words that modify nouns, and I'm going to teach you some new adjectives that are slang, informal, probably haven't heard before in a regular language class. The first one is cheesy. Cheesy. It doesn't mean tastes like cheese. That would be the literal definition. Ever hear someone say that another person said something that was cheesy or sounded cheesy, or maybe they said that a particular TV show is cheesy? Cheesy means inauthentic, not genuine, predictable, formulaic. For instance, a movie that's cheesy would be easy to predict before you go there. Maybe it was a love story and all the usual lines were said, all the usual music, love themed music, and it seemed like every other movie on love that you'd ever seen. It didn't seem like real situations, it wasn't real dialogue, it didn't feel like real life. That means the movie was cheesy. It was too much like every other love film and not in a good way. Maybe someone says something to you that feels like they read it off a script. It wasn't authentic. That's cheesy. You don't want to be cheesy, but there's plenty of cheesy stuff in life, especially in the movies. Alright, so that's cheesy. Next up, classic. Now, classic has a literal definition, and it's got more of an informal definition that's been coming into vogue of late. Classic has always meant historic, robust, hearkening back to the past in a good way. For instance, a classic Harley-Davidson motorcycle, a classic diner, a classic car. Classic, meaning good, strong, predictable, dependable. So that's classic the literal way. What I want to go over with you right now is when you might hear classic said in a conversation. Something fun that happened to you. Something worth remembering. Maybe you had a fun interaction at a bar one time with someone who made jokes and maybe you pranked them, and it's something that you and your friends joke about ever since. You might say, oh, that was classic. Remember that time we went to the bar and made those people buy us drinks and then left without even saying thank you? That was classic. Or maybe at work someone made a presentation and made it interactive and started spraying water guns at the people in the room. Who knows? The point is, it's memorable and probably in a good way, distinctive, and you'll probably never forget it. In that sense, it's similar to the literal definition, but in modern speech, it's got a humorous tone. You'll probably laugh when you say, oh, remember that time we had? That was classic. It can also be an adjective, of course. That was a classic moment. A classic Stacy moment, for instance, if someone named Stacy is known for doing silly things. So that's classic. Get it? All right. Next up, similar, classy. Classy. Do you know what classy is? Well, do you know what class is? Particularly high class? Something or someone that's high class is considered better than others. Maybe it's how they dress, how they comport themselves, how they act, maybe even how they look. Classy means of good stature. Someone who's classy has a certain, probably admirable way of speaking or acting or an attitude. Maybe culturally you think someone is superior. Classy can be a dangerous word, of course, in that sense of feeling that some people are better than others. But to the extent that people in the world think like that, the word classy is used to denote certain people. Now, classy can also be used to describe things. I could say, oh, that restaurant last night, it was really fancy, really quiet, expensive food. That was a classy restaurant. Sometimes people jokingly will say to their friends, stay classy, if for whatever reason they feel the need to remind their friend to be a certain way. Maybe they might comment facetiously on someone's Facebook photo if the person's drunk or wearing clothes that they don't like. They might say, hey, stay classy. It's sort of a joking thing to say. So classy can describe people, things, and it has to do with class, high class versus low class. Admirable behavior and qualities versus unadmirable. All right, ready for the next one? Decent. Decent has a more formal meaning and a more informal meaning. I'll review the formal one first. Decent, you often hear this in speeches. A president, for instance, might thank an outgoing member of his administration by saying, this man, he's a decent man. He's a decent civil servant. Meaning good, quality, probably did his job all right. That's decent in the more formal respect. Decent more conversationally, I, for instance, say all the time that something is decent. I might say a particular model of phone is decent. I might say a particular rate of pay is decent. And what I mean by that is it's not great, but it's not horrible. It's sort of okay. It's acceptable. I'll take it. You know, I got a job offer and it's a good company and good people and decent pay, so I'm going to take it. The implication there is that I would have preferred better pay, better offer, but it was decent, it was good enough, so I'm there. All right, next up, dicey. Dicey comes from dice. You know, those small cubes that you roll in a casino, in those games. Usually when you're rolling dice in a game like that, you've bet some money and you're taking a risk. That's similar to the meaning of dicey as an adjective. Risky. Not so safe, perhaps. I might say, in reference to an untrustworthy colleague, delegating work to her could be dicey. Maybe I'm telling someone she's a little unreliable, so you giving her that assignment could be dicey. She might not get the job done. I might say a certain neighborhood is dicey. If I look down on it and believe it's not safe, I'd be taking a risk to live there or visit there. So dicey. It's like rolling the dice. No guarantee that it'll work how you hope it will. Okay? Next up, dope. Dope has always meant an idiot, you know. Oh, he's a dope. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But dope as an adjective means really cool. I might say, hey man, your shirt's dope. That means I really like your shirt. I think it's a nice shirt. Your car's dope. That story's dope. Fun, slangy way to say cool. Nice. All right, that's dope. Ready for the next one? Feisty. Feisty is an adjective that connotes fun, almost aggressive fun. Usually people, or perhaps pets, animals, are described as feisty. You know, a cat, for instance, that is clawing at you and sniffing the catnip and jumping up and down, running around. That's a feisty animal. It's not lacking energy. It's ready to play. And humans are also sometimes jokingly referred to as feisty if they are prone to argument or teasing. Often calling someone feisty is a way to tease or flirt with them. Oh, you're feisty today. What'd you have for dinner? So feisty, it's not an insulting word. It's not a slur or anything. It's just a fun, funny way of describing someone that's got some energy. Maybe they're saying snide remarks or giving you a hard time. So feisty. Next up, fishy. Fishy. Smells fishy in here. Got some raw fish. That's the literal meaning. Something can smell fishy for other reasons too. Let's say I walk into a store and everything is on sale for insanely small amounts, and it's almost too good to be true, meaning it doesn't even make sense that all these products are on sale so low. I might say to the shopkeeper, "My something smells fishy," or "Something's fishy. This is a fishy situation." And they might tell me, "Well, none of this stuff is genuine merchandise. We bought knockoffs, or we stole this stuff." Something is fishy. Fishy means something is not as it should be. Something feels off. Maybe someone is lying to you about something, and they didn't cover up their lies as well as they thought, and you think you might have figured out that you're dealing with a liar, and you might say, "It's fishy. It's got fishy here. Something smells fishy." So that's fishy in the informal conversational sense, when something's not quite right, or at the least doesn't feel quite right. You're not necessarily making a grand pronouncement that you're being deceived when you say, "That was fishy," but it feels fishy, it feels off. Okay, got two more adjectives right now. Flaky. Someone who's flaky might have set up a date with you and at the last minute texted you and said, "Hey, I can't make it." Or maybe they didn't even show up at all. That person would be called a flake, is the noun. The adjective flaky is equally, if not more, common, and always refers to people. Be careful, he's flaky, she's flaky. Those colleagues are a little flaky, so we probably shouldn't plan on meeting them for happy hour, because we'll sit here for hours and hours, never see them. That's flaky. Pretty straightforward, right? Don't be flaky. All right, finally, green. Now, I'm sure you know the literal meaning of the word green. Green's the color. It can also these days refer to environmentally sensitive approaches to living, or environmentally conscious products. For instance, paper that's made from recycled goods could be marketed as green toilet paper. It may not literally be green, but the environment wasn't harmed much in the making of the product, so we call them green. In New York City, a lot of taxi cabs have, these days, slightly green paint on them. You know, most of them are yellow historically, but a lot of them are sort of a greenish color now, and that's to let you know that they have very high mile per gallon ratio, and they don't give off too much exhaust. Not only are they literally green, but we call them green taxis, green transportation, environmentally sensitive. So that's one informal meaning of green I want to tell you. The other meaning of green that you may not know refers to people who are inexperienced, new on the job. There was a girl at a company I worked for, and my boss said we probably shouldn't delegate this particular task to her because she's a little green. She's new on the job. She just graduated school. She had only been at the company for a matter of days. It's not a particularly rude thing. It's not, again, a slur or a pejorative word. It simply is a factual statement that someone is inexperienced and new to a particular field. In my case, it was the industry and the office. Okay, so that's green, and that's part one of our adjectives section. I got another lecture with other adjectives that you should definitely check out as well if you haven't already. All right, catch you all later.